Shabbat Shalom. So several of you have already commented about what a lovely prayer book this is, Mishkan Halev. I got the big print edition, called Sanctuary of the Heart. And I'm really going to explore some of the poetry tonight with you in this prayer book. So let's begin on page 3. At the bottom of page 3 with Hine Matov. Now this is a round, so if you feel so inclined and you want to just jump into the other part of the song, please go ahead and do it. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim. I see you singing online. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Page 6. Let's read this prayer at the top of the page responsively. Those of you who are online, I know you don't have copies of the prayer book in front of you. I hope you'll simply be able to hear and enjoy the words. Before we slip too quickly into the season of the soul, let there be a Sabbath of Sabbaths for the heart. Before the music of creation's majesty, let there be a silent praise of existence. Before the feast of sanctified words, let there be a poetry of solitude. Before we enter the palaces of prayer, let us find within ourselves a place of calm. Before we revel in the wondrous and sublime, let there be an honest inward gaze. Before the rites and ceremonies of awe, let there be quieter days, an island of attentiveness. Tzahala David is going to light our Shabbat candles. Please turn to page 10. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Source of blessing, eternal, our God, you filled the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. The gold books, yep, you got it, Donna, thanks. Let's share some simchas. Simcha is a good thing that happened to you during the past week. If something particular happened this past week that you'd like to share with our community that you can relate in a sentence, let's share that. Who's got a simcha from this week? I'm going to repeat for those online. What Janet said is she cooked her first meal in our new kitchen after months of renovation, torture. Yes. Other simchas from this week? Alex? Yeah.
We had both of our sets of parents visiting and helped us build like a crib for our baby.
You had both parents visiting, helping to build a crib. An actual crib, yeah. Is this IKEA? No. No. The real. Okay. Other simchas from the week? Please. Oh, mazel tov. Something worth celebrating. Online, please. I'm going to repeat them for everybody. Go ahead. Merlin's wife had successful surgery. That's great. Linda Knapp's grandnephew? You have a grandnephew? At his bar mitzvah. Great. Nice. Any other simchas? It's great to share. Let's turn to page 20. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 25. So this is one of those alternative pieces of poetry that is occupying the space in the service that would otherwise be Chatzi Kaddish. I'm going to invite you to do this responsibly. We'll take turns reading paragraphs. And will they ever come? Oh, I need to tell you about this. Take a look at the comment at the bottom of the page. It's going to help you appreciate the poem better. It's a poem by Leah Goldberg, really Israel's poet laureate. And what the comment at the bottom of the page says, the poem likens personal regeneration, forgiveness, and grace to the coming of rain to a parched land. Its mood of longing is a fitting prelude to the days of awe. Here we go. And will they ever come, days of forgiveness and grace, when you'll walk in the fields, simple wanderer, and your bare soles will be caressed by the clover, or the wheat stubble will sting your feet and its sting will be sweet, or the rainfall will catch you, its downpour pounding on your shoulders, your breast, your neck, your head, and you'll walk in the wet fields, quiet, widening within, like light on the cloud's rim. And you'll breathe in the scent of the furrow, full and calm. And you'll see the sun and the rain pool's golden mirror. And all things are simple and alive. You may touch them, and you are allowed to love. You'll walk in the field alone, unscorched by the blaze of the fires, along roads stiffened with blood and terror, and true to your heart, you'll be again humble and softened, as one of the grass, as one of humankind. Page 26, I invite you to rise for Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam vaed.
You may be seated. Page 29. All of them are travelers. Now, this is, again, a poem that riffs on the theme of Ma'ariv Aravim, the evening prayer that speaks of the turning of the light, the day into night, the sun and the moon. All of them are travelers, bodies in motion, obedient servants of celestial laws. Moons orbit planets, planets circle stars, stars spin around galaxies, galaxies cluster drawn by dark matter, superclusters flow driven by dark energy. All of us are travelers, bodies in motion, unwitting servants of the flow of time. Within us, atoms vibrate, electrons whirl, and we are changing, aging, spinning our own orbits, drawn together, drifting apart, driven by forces we barely understand. Particles of matter in perpetual motion. We yearn for clarity and calm, strength to master our own dark energies and to counter the darkness in our world. As we lift our gaze to the starlight, may we lift ourselves to embrace a higher law. Page 32.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 41. Crossing the sea. Eternal, watch over my small domain of light and shadow, those few people who share my love, and all others upon this earth that sometimes shakes with thunder and reverberates with lightning. Help us to live with fear and conquer rage. Heal the hate that makes us kill and covers the ground with this Red Sea that only you can part, so we may all walk through the wilderness to your realm of peace, where all men and women are one, and sing your blessed name. Page 46.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית olam. Please turn to page 48. A comment about the Amidah, or the Tefillah, the middle part of this service. After we do the opening meditation, we're going to sit and read English passages here. We're not going to read the traditional prayer or its translation. During the month of Elul, there's a Sephardic custom to recite a set of psalms every day of the month. And what the editors of this prayer book have done is they've taken excerpts from each of the psalms recited during the month of Elul and attached a few verses of each psalm to one of the prayers of the Amidah, as if they were kind of a midrash, a commentary on the prayer of the Amidah. And maybe you'll pick that up, maybe you'll see the connection, or maybe you'll simply appreciate the Psalms and what they say to us. They're parallel to the Amidah, in other words. I also want you to notice the beautiful translations of these Psalms into English. This prayer book excels in the beauty of its translations. So first, we'll stand for the introductory prayer for the Amidah on page 48. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. You may be seated. We're going to do these as responsive readings, starting on page 51, where you read the indented paragraphs. Your faithfulness, a wondrous thing to behold. Your awe, who can grasp it? They who choose your path, whose lives rest on goodness, their children will inherit the land. Blessed is the one who finds forgiveness, whose misdeeds are overcome. Page 53. Create for me a pure heart. Renew within me constancy and calm. Respond. Answer us with justice and awe. God of our salvation, you are the source of trust from the farthest ends of the earth to its most distant seas. Page 55. Is it not your will to bring us back to life again, that through you we may find happiness? When love and truth touch, justice and peace will kiss. Page 57. A year of your goodness, your crowning gift. Your paths grow lush with oil, drop by drop. Pastures for grazing thrive in the wilderness, and the hills are encircled with joy. Flocks of sheep clothe spacious fields, and the valleys wear garments of grain. Filled to bursting, they shout, they praise, an exultant song of delight. Page 63. Bring joy to my life of service when I turn to you for purpose and hope. God, teach me your path. Your truth will guide my steps. Point my heart toward awe. Your name
the center of my devotion. Page 67. Let's read this together. You are my home, my shelter. You soothe my distress. You embrace me with songs of deliverance. Adonai, my link to eternity, open my lips. Help me in my struggle to praise you. And finally, page 71. I say, not now, my God, not in the middle of the journey. Do not carry me off. Your years outlast all generations. In some distant past you laid the earth's foundation. Heaven itself is the work of your hands. They will vanish, but you endure. Your years never end. The children of those who serve you, may they live in peace. And their children who live in your presence, may they endure. If you turn the page, I invite you to explore the words on the next 2 pages for silent prayer. Page 74. Yehiyu leratzon imre fi v'hegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali Adonai tzuri v'goali. At this time, we ask for healing for members of our congregation and their loved ones who are ill. If you are praying for healing of body or healing of spirit for a loved one, I invite you to recite that person's name out loud as my eyes pass yours. To those whose names we have said out loud, we add those whom we hold in our hearts. We say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, God, the source of healing. I invite you to turn to page 76, and let's read this prayer for healing responsively. May the one whose blessings are many heal and bless us, and all those who live in the shadow of illness. May God's care bring us comfort and courage. May God's love open our eyes to the faith and compassion around us. May the source of hope and renewal show us the way toward peace of mind, wholeness within, and strength from community. Source of blessings, as you inspired Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, inspire us too. Let us shine the soft light of human kindness in dark places. Let song, prayer, and silence be our instruments of care and healing. Let us all, the sick and the well together, be blessed as God blessed Joshua. Chazak v'amatz, be strong and of good courage, and let us say, Amen. when the end of summer rolls around, I go hunting for blueberries. Not those overgrown, watery blueberries you find in Costco from New Jersey. No. They're the size of golf balls. Rather, I go looking for the small, dense, wild Maine blueberries. Blueberries, please understand, you need to know this, are Maine's third largest cash crop after lobsters and potatoes. And they're much tastier than potatoes, I'll assure you of that. Blueberries, unfortunately, are never mentioned in the Torah. Of all the delights of this good earth, the wild blueberry is one delicacy that was completely unknown to our ancestors. Having said that, it is possible to find a connection between Maine's favorite summer produce and this evening's Torah portion. And that has to do not with blueberries themselves, but with those who harvest them. Now, I have never raked blueberries. The mere thought of it makes me want to take an Advil. However, I get the basic idea. Someone goes through the field, if you could call it a field, someone stumbles over the rocks with a ball of string and marks out rows. Then you get a bunch of workers whose backs have not yet given out, give them a rake and a crate, and let them go at it. For every crate they fill, they get paid a certain wage. Those who pick fruit quickly Those who pick fruit quickly learn the laborer's law of conservation of energy. If my goal is to fill that crate, I'm not going to pick every piece of fruit. I'm going to move quickly through my row and gather as many blueberries as I can easily, then go on to the next bush or the next row. You don't worry about the ones you left behind because your goal is to get as much as you can in the shortest amount of time. And this is exactly the framework for understanding this week's Torah portion. It is amazing that with all that has changed in the world, the real world behind the Torah's laws is exactly the same today as it was 3,000 years ago. 3 times in this week's parashah, Kiteitzei, the Torah lays out the commandment about overlooked produce. When you reap the harvest in your field, and overlook a sheaf in the field, do not turn back to get it. It shall go to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Similarly, when you beat down the fruit of your olive trees, do not go over them again. And finally, when you gather the grapes of your vineyard, do not pick it over again. You might think that once was enough. Of course, it is clear that the Torah is trying to cover all the bases. These are different varieties of agriculture. People who raise wheat and barley in their fields have no more experience with beating olives off of branches than people who harvest grapes know about raking blueberries. Wheat is one kind of farming. You plant it every year, you cut it down every year. Olive trees are something else entirely. They grow for hundreds of years. And once you gather the produce, you have to soak the stuff for ages before it is edible. Now, an aside, what I want to know is, who was the first person to realize that you could eat those things? They must have been really desperate to take an inedible green fruit, wait until it rots in brine, and then put the thing in their salad. Obviously, none of this could have happened before the discovery of the pimento. Grapes are a whole different issue because whoever harvests the grapes must get them to the market instantly or process them immediately to make wine. Any delay in your investment is lost. So there is logic to the Torah's redundancy.
The law applies across the board to all kinds of farmers. And of course, what the rabbis understood then is that it is not restricted to farmers at all. It is a principle of economic justice that applies to all people, especially property owners, but by extension to people in any occupation. What is the owner's obligation? If you own property, you are not permitted to pick your vineyard bare. Knowing how farming works, we realize that everybody who owned property was faced with the likelihood that there would be forgotten grapes and overlooked olives. The Torah is operating from the real world of farming, where the laborers go through the fields for the fastest gain with the least expenditure of energy. Now you might think, hey, it's my property. I am entitled to every last bit of it. What's left, however, is now declared by the Torah no longer to belong to the owner. There is an implicit assumption in the Torah, written between the lines, that poverty is an ever-present reality of society. It is assumed that there will be people who fall into the category of the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. In granting them a share of everyone else's property, the Torah establishes a kind of social safety net. Nor is this obligation purely hypothetical, like some fairy tale version of society in which everyone generously lives up to their charitable obligations. This is a matter of law, and probably just as real world, widely practiced as the guy who makes the first run through the blueberry field filling his crate. Clearly, the Torah's requirements are an infringement on property rights. Why is someone obligated to give up his or her own produce? The explanation is straightforward and without a lot of deep philosophy or constitutional argumentation. The Torah says, always remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore do I enjoin you to observe this commandment. That's it. It's as though God said, what, you don't remember what it was like? Stop being so greedy. Let them have the rest of the harvest. These laws are a matter of justice, not charity. The Torah has no word for charity. The Torah stipulates that one's obligation to support the poor in the community is a matter not of charity, but of tzedakah, of justice. The distinction is an important one. In the Jewish view, whether one feels motivated to contribute to the welfare of others is irrelevant. It is a covenantal duty. Furthermore, the principle of tzedakah implies protecting the dignity of the recipient. There is no condescension in receiving tzedakah, that which is merely justice, as might be the case in receiving charity, that which others give because they feel sympathy for one's plight. Those gleaning in the fields get to walk right behind the reapers. It's part of the deal. So these are the Torah's blueberry laws, even though the Torah never heard of blueberries. I call them the blueberry laws in order to keep them straight from those other laws that come from Maine, the cider house rules. The latter, of course, is the law of necessity, sometimes brutal, always tainted. The blueberry laws, by contrast, are laws that limit our rights but protect the most vulnerable of society. They are the Torah's enduring contribution to a just society. And just like picking fruit has really not changed that much in 3,000 years, the principles of economic justice that are necessary to protect the poor are just as true today and just as necessary as in the days when Ruth gleaned in the fields of Boaz. So happy blueberry season. I wonder if we have announcements this evening. Salah, great.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My name is Tzahala David, and I am the Secretary of the Board here at Congregation Bet Emek. Thank you, Rabbi Milder, for leading us in worship, and thank you to Anne for making sure that we can live stream the service. I'm hosting the Onik Shabbat tonight, so please join us after the service for some tasty snacks. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., please join us for a Torah study in person or on Zoom. Also tomorrow at 3 p.m., join us for our last park playdate of the summer. This event is geared towards children ages 0 to 5. Older siblings and non-members are welcome. Also, tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., game night to celebrate the fall. Please join us as we gather on our courtyard for Havdalah, followed by board games, card games, light snacks, cider. The event is free and open to everyone. Lastly, Israel in the Sea of Change, Wednesday, September 21st, 7:30. Jerusalem Post-Diplomatic Correspondent Herb Kanon will report on some of the challenges of the state of Israel regarding Iraq, the Arab world, Israel under Biden, etc. And please do visit the High Holidays page for the full schedule of our services and register so we know how many people are coming. The details of all of these programs and more can be found online or in our weekly newsletter. Shabbat Shalom.
Our service continues now with, let's see, find my place here. There it is. I want to do one of the English setting here that they offer for Aleinu. So if you please turn to page 81. Our mission is to plant ourselves, you know what Aleinu means, it's on us, it's our obligation. Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower, nor the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness, which creak on shrill and angry hinges. People cannot hear us there. They cannot pass through. Nor the cheerful, flimsy garden gate of everything is going to be all right, but a different, sometimes lonely place of truth-telling about your own soul first of all and its condition, the place of resistance and defiance from which you see the world both as it is and as it could be, as it will be, the place from which you glimpse not only struggle, but joy in the struggle. And we stand there, beckoning and calling, telling people what we're seeing, asking them what they see. On the facing page, on page 80, V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Judaism teaches us the sacred duty of memory. And on this Shabbat, I want to mention the upcoming funeral for Sally Brown. Her memorial service will take place this coming Monday. There will be an interment ceremony at Roselawn Cemetery at 1 p.m. on Monday, followed by a memorial service here in the sanctuary at 2 p.m. And on this Shabbat, we remember
those whose yahrzeit occurred during the past week. I invite those who are observing yahrzeit for the following to rise as I recite their names. Mary Altsman, Ruth Calderon, Martin Cohn, Milt Koransky, Betty Ann Miller, Mitchell Neiman, Elizabeth Pavel, Diane Pessler, Irving Sofin, Marion Dribbin Sofin, Helene Weinstein. And I invite those who are observing the first year of mourning to rise at this time. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. We rise as one congregation, united by memory and compassion to praise God's name. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 86. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah ba'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yit barach v'yish tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal Shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru Amen. You may be seated. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Let's sing it together again. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. We're bringing around challah and wine or juice. The red cups are wine, the white cups are grape juice. Pick up a cup and some challah, and let's join together in Kiddush and Motzim. If you'd like to follow along in the words for Kiddush, they're on page 12 of the prayer book. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat l'chayim. And I think I'm going to need one of those pieces of challah. Claire, you want to bring me up one of those? Where are they? Oh, look at that. It was hiding. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah, all right. Oh, but I can't hear you because you're all muted. But I'll eat some challah for you. I'm supposed to going to the back to eat the donuts. Shabbat shalom. They're all muted. Yeah. No, still mute. Oh, Linda's unmuted.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. I can hear a little bit. Ah, Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Ah, there we go. Now I hear you. Oh, I see your lips moving, but I can't hear you. Oh, because they keep remuting?
Okay. Now I can.
Yes.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat
Walter.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
They can't see us.
Yes, they
think-
can.
Oh, they can? You
Yeah.
can see us? Oh, okay.
Where was your guitar tonight?
I'll tell you. I'll fill you in later.
Okay.
Were you able to hear your service tonight?
Yes.
I tried. I don't know what I did wrong.
But you could hear our service, so that's okay.
This is
So
on,
my mom comes from New York to our service because our sound is better.
Wow.
your service is on Zoom, and that I can do. But the streaming just doesn't seem to work. Well, at least not when I do it. It's not
Not a streaming kind of gal.
right, right,
You'll get it eventually.
right. When God comes and shows me.
Now I realize I have to get you a prayer book for the high holidays.
Well, I have one, if that's the same one, Dad and I each had one, if that's the one that you,
You'll have to
Shabbat
show
shalom,
it.
everybody.
Shabbat shalom, Walter. We'll see you tomorrow. How are you doing, Linda?
Good. We just got back from Portland. My grandnephew had a bar mitzvah last weekend, and now I have a brand new grandnephew.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
So we just got back last night.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah. Beautiful congregation. I was going to ask Rabbi Milton maybe if he knew of it. Have you heard of Congregation Neveah Shalom up there
Where?
Neveah Shalom in Portland.
in Portland?
Neve Shalom. Yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
That's where my grandnephew had his bar mitzvah.
Oh, nice. Wonderful.
Dad,
Yeah,
you were going to send me the travel information.
right. I forgot. Thank you.
I have to make copies.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Love you.
Oh, you too.
Yeah, so we have different parents who do jobs. Like her parents said,